My presentation is on Pearls and the Southern Persian Arabian Gulf by Dr. Victoria Hightower. A little bit about the author. Dr. Victoria Hightower earned her PhD in 2011 from Florida State University. Her research focuses on the pearl trade, history and heritage in the United Arab Emirates. She teaches courses on world history, Middle East history, gender study, and environmental history. I listed her awards and scholarship down here. Much of environmental history within the Middle East focuses mainly on agriculture, pastoralism, conflict, and strategic resources such as oil. The Persian Arab Gulf is neglected and therefore pearl, one of the region's most important commodities. The pearl was valuable commodity throughout history, and there is many features that pearl has that makes it very valuable, such as low bulk, high value, small quantity, make a great profit. Pearl fishing didn't acquire that much. Like a single man can travel down there, make the trip, and harvest a lot. It doesn't take a lot of money or effort to extract, and also it doesn't require manufacturing to be valuable. It's just the way it is. And it's like gold takes a lot of process to become the way it is, so it doesn't require a lot of manufacturing. Arab and British Indian control the pearling industry, setting it apart from many late 19th century commodities. Okay, in this slide, it's talking about the pearl stocks, and it did not suddenly decline, and it wasn't victim of industrial fishing techniques or over exploitation. The reason pearl was declining because of human disease epidemics, climate conditions. We talk about that in class, the climate changing and how that affects a lot of stuff, and fashion fluctuation, and the discovery of oil as well. And it wasn't from over exploitation. Many beds they fished from in the 20th century still exist until now. Okay, there's 3 theories explaining why the Gulf bed is producing and stable, while other pearl producing bed area were collapsing. So the first theory is that the location, where is the mix of shallow and deep water that serve to sustain the overall population, even in a year of intense or over-harvesting. The second theory is that the Gulf was home to a small population relative to the number of pearl beds. The population of pearl diver did not change. So between 1881 and 1907, for the Southern Gulf Emirates, it remains steady at around 20,000 of total diving population of about 74,000, meaning that the extraction was stable and limited only by human capacity. The third theory that it talks about the local merchants or boat captains stepped up to protect the industry, even in if this kind of protection gonna harm their own immediate financial interest. Okay, pearls ties the Gulf to the regional and global market. Pearling has a long history in the Persian Arabian Gulf. Recently, a carbon dating confirmed that the discovery of one of the world's oldest pearl dated to 7,500 years old, and I put the picture down there. By the late 16th century, small seed pearl were known in Puerto Rico and Indian source as a Jafar pearls or Basra pearls, which reflect the port from which they were sold. It's very interesting. In 1856, the government of India viewed the Gulf as a strategic trading and transport region because of pearling was the primary source of income for individuals along the coast. The British worked to understand and support the pearl trade in order to maintain the stability of trade routes out of the Gulf. However, they never controlled the trade and preferred to leave it within the hands of local merchants and rulers who prospered from the yearly dives. Okay, in this slide you see the pearl in the southern Persian Arab. Okay, the map shows the different pearling ports along the Arab and Persian coast. The primary pearling beds were found in the northern Gulf where Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran met. In the middle Gulf around the islands of Bahrain and along the Saudi coast, and the southern Gulf between the Qatar and the city of Abu Dhabi. Evaluating and describing pearls was different from region to another. It's like in Bahrain different than it is in southern Arabic coast or in India. At the end of the 19th century, the market for large pearls, small, white, and non-white increased, and that was beneficial to the Gulf because they don't produce white. Their pearl is more like yellow to green to blue, pink. They have different color, and that was beneficial to them. Further distinguishing Gulf pearls is that their luster is less reduced in quality by skin oil. That made the Gulf pearl a better investment than pearl from other areas in the world, stimulating their popularity. This is a 16th century portrait of a Queen Elizabeth that's celebrating her victory against the Spanish Armada and expressing her wealth and power by the number and diversity of pearls. After 1930, the Great Depression, the introduction of Japanese culture pearls, and the discovery of the oil in the northern Gulf in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, 1938, the pearl industry began to fade. It was considered too dangerous, too exhausting, and lots of effort, and the price that pearls were commanded on the world market declined. The Great Depression focuses people's attention on daily necessity rather than luxury items. Even as the market collapsed, people still went out to pearl, and the industry survived in the United Arab Bahrain. The Gulf pearl industry was sustainable, as the industry never collapsed, and there are still pearl beds throughout the Gulf today. The pearl beds were known to boats, captains, and is one of the estimate. There is 271 separate named beds around the Gulf, with majority located between Qatar and Abu Dhabi.